You won't believe what happened at our company party. I was in the middle of my usual rambling, just finishing off the last sip of my favorite cinnamon tea, when she peeked out from the kitchen, a mug in her hands. You know how these corporate events go. Raising our glasses to the company, to friendship, to the future, and to just about everything else under the sun. In short, we toasted both the possible and impossible. I was in a carefree mood, letting the evening unfold without any grand gestures or loud speech this time. I carried myself with a certain style, at least I thought so. She lifted an eyebrow, taking a slow sip from her mug as if she were attending a funeral. Her expression was somewhere between mild curiosity and a hint of judgment. Still, I kept talking, feeling like the lead in a poorly scripted play. You know, Anna, my colleagues can't take their eyes off me. Seriously, they're all stunning. One more than the next. Oh? And who's that? She asked, her grin playful. Marina from accounting. I smirked. Her eyes twinkled with amusement. The one who always mixes up her folders with spreadsheets? Don't you like her? She looked puzzled. What do you mean? Feigning offense? I sighed dramatically. No, she practically lives at the office. Not my type. And what about Sylvia from HR? I asked, throwing a side glance as if recalling some wild story. She came up to me in a red dress, openly flirting. Anna snorted, but her smile faltered for just a moment. You really think you're a Casanova, don't you? Well, of course, I teased. At first, I played it cool, but before I knew it, I was completely under her spell. It was then that I realized it was time to cut the joke short. But something in Anna's expression made me hesitate. Her eyes narrowed, tension pulling at the corners of her lips. Are you serious? She asked, her voice dropping an octave. That was the moment I felt the mood shift, like the ground beneath us had tilted. All right, I said, raising my hands in surrender, swaying slightly as I tried to gauge what was happening. I paused in the kitchen for a second, trying to make sense of things. Then, without thinking much, I followed her. Anna was curled up on the couch in the living room, legs pulled up, a blanket wrapped around her. Andrew, she started, her eyes focused on some distant point beyond my shoulder. Her voice was soft, almost fragile, as if she feared it might break. Since you brought it up, I frowned, not sure where this was going. Do you remember that New Year's party 2 years ago? I nodded, though I still didn't quite follow. Of course. I was working until midnight, so I couldn't pick you up. You came back late, all excited. Said it was a great time. She swallowed hard. The boss was there. You remember him? He had just started at the company. A wave of unease crept over me. My pulse quickened. Yeah, I asked, forcing my voice to stay even, though my stomach was already in knots. She avoided my gaze, her voice tight. We were drunk. It was just one time. At first, I couldn't process what she was saying. It was as if my brain refused to register the words. Wait, what? My voice came out unsteady. Her eyes met mine, and for a brief moment, I saw raw pain flicker in them. I cheated on you. The words struck like a hammer, reverberating through my chest. Everything around me seemed to blur, her confession looping in my mind over and over. What did you do? I barely managed to whisper. Her voice wavered. It was a long time ago. After that night, I tried to bury it. She looked desperate, as if willing me to believe her. It didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything. A cold, burning rage ignited inside me. And you call that nothing? Tears streamed down her face, twisting her features in anguish. She sobbed, her voice breaking. Andrew, I never wanted this to happen. I thought I could handle this. But do you even hear yourself? My heart pounded in my chest, and before I knew it, I was on my feet, as if struck by lightning. You cheated on me, and you're acting like you just picked out a new rug? I thought you'd understand, she whispered. Understand. My voice cracked with disbelief. Understand what? She reached out, but I stepped back instinctively, unable to bring myself any closer. You were just talking about your coworkers. About Sylvia, she said hesitantly. That was a joke. I let out a bitter laugh, but it sounded hollow, sharp. Just a joke. Can't you wrap your head around that? Her face drained of all expression, as if she'd been frozen in place. A joke, she echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. Are you serious? A joke? I could barely hold myself together now. My entire body shook with fury. She didn't say another word, but I saw it in her eyes. The slow dawning realization of what had just unraveled between us. You were joking, she whispered, more to herself than to me. I opened my mouth, but she trailed off before I could respond. And then it all poured out of me. The anger, the pain, the crushing betrayal. And you destroyed everything. Andrew, please. She stepped closer, desperate. But I recoiled again. Don't touch me. Don't. My voice came out sharp, raw, filled with all the emotions I could no longer hold back. She covered her face with her hands, as if shielding herself from the storm that had erupted between us. But I want to fix this. I swear. Fix it. I let out a bitter scoff. Do you actually think you can fix this? I was shaking, my entire body locked up under the weight of everything that had just exploded between us. Without another word, I grabbed my jacket from the chair and shoved my arms into it, my movements rough, hurried. Where are you going? She cried out. Stop it. I shouted over my shoulder, my voice breaking, and then I was gone. The door slammed behind me with such force that the glass in the frame rattled. The sound echoed into the empty hallway, but I didn't look back. Outside, the air was frigid, cutting through my jacket and making my fingers go numb. But I barely felt it. The city around me was alive, humming with distant traffic, windows glowing with soft, warm light. People were going about their lives, laughing, talking, existing, and I was standing alone in an empty alley, staring down at the pavement, its surface dark and smooth, almost unnatural in the way it reflected the streetlights. 8 years. 8 years of what I thought was a strong, honest relationship. It had been my home, my anchor, my safe place. And now it all felt like some cruel joke, a twisted illusion that had shattered before my eyes. I thought back to the moment we met. She was working at a bookstore, and I had asked for help picking out a gift for my nephew. She had laughed, genuine, open, carefree. It was the kind of laugh that felt so pure, so real. How did we end up here? The question wouldn't stop circling in my head. Why? Why did she do it? Why didn't she tell me before? Why now, after all this time when I'd been living in blissful ignorance? Had I been blind? Had I worked too much? Had I not paid enough attention? No. This was her choice, her decision. A lump formed in my throat. I had always believed in her, in us, and now it all felt like a sick joke. And tomorrow? I had no idea what tomorrow would bring.